Positions versus hierarchy security. Recently, Microsoft has added hierarchy security to Microsoft Dynamics CRM. But let's review both types. Position and hierarchy security extends the Microsoft Dynamics CRM security models using business units, security roles, and teams. So it's used in conjunction with all of the other existing models that you have in place. But what this does is to offer a more granular access to records for an organization and helps bring maintenance costs down. In effect, both support automatic access to subordinates' records. It's just a matter of how you define the subordinate relationships. So these two security models can be used, either the manager or a position structure. The manager hierarchy model is set up so that a manager must be within the same business unit as the report or in the parent business unit of the report's business unit to have access to the report's data. This is used to prevent seeing data across business units that are not in the same tree structure, i.e., if you have a division that has its own set of business units, managers in that tree can see subordinates down the tree. In another division, managers would have access to subordinates' data, but not to subordinates of the managers in the other tree structures. The position hierarchy model allows data access across the business units, and it's used to access data across the disparate business units. In the manager hierarchy, the manager has access to the records owned by the user, by the team that a user is a member of, records that are directly shared with the user or the team that the user is a member of. For a direct report, the manager has read, write, update, append to access to the report's data. For a non-direct report, a manager has read-only access to the report's data. And for the purposes of this slide, the report is someone who has defined the manager as their manager. A non-direct report would be your manager's manager, for instance. But a manager must have at least user-level read privilege on an entity to see one of their subordinates' data. And the manager must be within the same business unit as the report or in the parent business unit of the report's business unit to have access to that data. Here's an example of a manager hierarchy. The VP of Sales and VP of Service both report to the CEO. 3 sales managers report to the VP of Sales. And finally, you have salespeople who report to this sales manager. So this sales manager would have access to the data for these 2 salespeople. And the VP of Sales would have access to this information, but read-only information down here. The CEO can look down all the trees and basically has full access to the information for the VP of Service and the VP of Sales, but read access below that level. Position hierarchy. Based upon records that you define in the positions entity, not upon the direct reporting. So the administrator actually needs to define the position structure. I'll show you that in the demo shortly. Basically, positions are tagged or linked to each user in the system. This means that a user does not have to be an actual manager of another user to access that user's data. Now, a user can only be tagged with one position, and a position can be linked with any number of users. The hierarchy is actually defined in the positions entity. So direct hire positions in the hierarchy have read, write, update, and append to access to the lower positions data in the direct ancestor path. Non-direct hire positions have read-only access to the lower positions data in the direct ancestor path. So here's a position hierarchy illustration. We have the CEO, we have VP of Sales, and VP of Service. In this particular example, the sales managers have the sales manager position, and so they all can access the direct data so they all can access the data of their direct reports. The VP of sales can access all the data of the sales managers, but has read access only to the salespeople the next layer down. Similarly, the CEO has read access to everyone's data, but only read and write access to the direct VPs in the line in the position hierarchy below him. So now let's take a look at how we set up manager and position hierarchy security. From the Settings and Security menu, first we go into Hierarchy Security. The first thing that you have to do is to turn on hierarchy modeling. Once you do that, you're given the ability to select the hierarchy model. The manager hierarchy, which is the traditional way of setting up hierarchical security, is configured simply by making sure that all of the users in CRM are assigned to a manager. And that's easy enough to do. You can basically take any user and change their manager. Until everyone is assigned. When it's set up properly, you'll see this icon next to the user account telling you that they are part of a hierarchy. And it's as simple as that. So in this particular case, we have only one level where Stephen No is the senior manager. He actually reports to 365 admin just in case, but everyone else reports directly to him. The other option is to create a custom position hierarchy. So if we choose this option and click Configure, this will take us to the list of active positions and give us the ability to create more. So for instance, we could go ahead and create a new sales management position. That reports to the CEO. Save and close. And the point of this is if you're going to use the custom positions hierarchy, this will allow you to have managers who span business units, whereas the traditional manager hierarchy only works within the business unit structure. It's the main reason and differentiation for using one versus the other.